My 32F husband, 34M, is claiming that he didn't know my sister, 33F, is gay and is now saying he doesn't want our kids, 12M, 8F, and 6F, around her. Me and my husband have been married for 9 years and have a son, 12, and 2 daughters, 8 and 6. I have very demanding job and work long hours, so my sister watches our kids on weekdays because she works from home. The schedule is that I get the kids up and drop them off at my sister's house at 6:30 and then go to work. My sister feeds the kids breakfast and gets them to the bus stop. After school, the bus drops the kids off, and my sister gives them snacks and helps with homework until my husband picks them up at 5. I get home from work at 6:30/7. My sister and I are very close, and I'm extremely grateful to her. She loves and spoils my kids. She's basically like a third parent to them. I pay for all her groceries, and my kids help her around the house in return. On Monday, I got an urgent call from my husband after he picked up the kids. He said that I needed to leave work immediately so I could come home to have an emergency discussion with him. I panicked and rushed home because he wasn't answering any of my calls after he hung up. When I got home, my husband proceeded to dramatically tell me that my sister was gay. Apparently, when he got to her house, her girlfriend was there, and they kissed in front of him. I actually laughed when he told me this because my sister has been out since I was a teenager, and her girlfriend and her have been together for 3 years. He is claiming that he thought her girlfriend was just her friend and that mentions of her being gay were just jokes. My sister's girlfriend doesn't come to a lot of family events because she travels for work, and our family doesn't really talk about her being gay that often. Still, I can't believe that he wouldn't have figured this out in the 13 years he's known her. It's been so long that I can't remember if I ever verbally told him that she's gay. My husband said that he doesn't want her around the kids anymore because she will influence them, and wouldn't explain what that meant. I told him that I wasn't going to cut my sister out, and he said I could still see her but not the kids because they are too young. I asked what the hell he expected to do for childcare if we couldn't use my sister, and he suggested I take a week off work while we figure it out, which I absolutely cannot do. I didn't want to yell at him in front of the kids, so I said I was going to take a walk to calm down and we would discuss this later. When I got back, my daughters were crying and my son was upset. He told me that their father had told them they weren't allowed to see their aunt anymore because she was having personal issues. I blew up at my husband and told him that he was being bigoted and selfish, and that I wasn't going to cut my kids off from their aunt who loves them because he was too stupid to notice that she's gay. Then I packed the kids up and went to stay with my sister. I have no idea what to do. I love my husband and I don't want a divorce, but there's no way I'm gonna cut my sister off. I can't believe my husband didn't know she was gay, but I don't know why he would lie about this. He's never said or done anything homophobic before. I know I shouldn't have yelled at him like that, but I was furious that he said that to the kids. Any advice would be appreciated because I'm at a complete loss here. TLDR, my husband is claiming he didn't know my sister was gay despite knowing her for 13 years. He is now saying that he doesn't want to allow our kids around her, even though she helps out with the majority of childcare. Relevant comments. Commenter. Homophobia by itself is bad enough. Homophobia directed at your own flesh and blood is beyond tolerating. What's he going to do if one of your kids comes out gay? I know it's a notorious Reddit response, but this time I think it's justified. Dump him now. OP. I didn't even think of this. I feel like I didn't make it clear enough in my post, but if he turns out to be bigot, I am 100% done with him. I'm just at a loss right now because this is so out of left field. I feel really guilty and stupid right now because I've been racking my brain trying to remember if he's shown signs of this, but I'm coming up empty. Commenter. How in the hell have you never had discussions about Lepke issues? You haven't discussed politics / bigotry / gender identity / sexual orientation before having kids, or has he hidden this all from you? Some serious introspection is needed if you've never discussed it, especially before kids. If he's been hiding it, then time to work out where it's come from, and if there is any likelihood of him leaving those views in the past. Doesn't seem likely. One other thought. Is it actually that he's trying to use this as an excuse to prevent you from working? Is it part of coercive control attempt? Is there anything that's happened that might have triggered him to try to cut you off from the outside world? OP. I have talked about LGBT stuff with my kids before. They know about gay and trans people and being accepting to them. I've been with my husband so long that I can't remember if we ever discussed this kind of stuff before. I guess I just assumed he didn't have a problem because he's never had an issue with my sister. I asked my son, and he said his father hasn't brought up anything bigoted to him before. I think you're right, and I'm due for a deeper conversation about LGBT issues with my kids. Commenter. Could he have an ulterior motive? Like he wants you to be a som and thought you'd buy into a contrived situation? OP. Maybe. I would have said no before, but now I don't know. We had a fight couple months ago where he was mad because he didn't like how late I got home from work because he has to make dinner every night. But he dropped it, so I thought that was settled. I make more than him, and if I quit my job we would probably lose our house, so I really question this logic. But then again, I don't understand his logic about my sister, so all bets are off. OP updated the original post. Edit. After reading the comments, I think that unfortunately you guys are right. This is so out of the blue that I was looking for reasons as to why he might not be a bigot, but I think he just is. If it comes down to him or my sister, I am choosing my sister. At this point, I am so upset with him that I don't know if I would take him back if he came begging on his knees. He said what he said, and he can't take that back. To answer some questions, we don't really talk about politics because he doesn't really engage. I will mention something and he'll just respond, okay, or uh-huh. Our life has been so hectic lately that we don't have a ton of alone time together, and when we do, we don't talk about politics. We live in a pretty liberal area, and he's never expressed any right-wing beliefs to me before, so I never thought that he had any different views. My sister being gay doesn't come up that much. Her girlfriend isn't around us or our kids a ton, and my sister's sexuality isn't a topic of conversation because it's just something that is. Like, she's gay, and that's that, so it doesn't really get discussed. I talked to my sister, and she said that they don't really interact that much. When he comes to get the kids, he will usually just say hello and nothing more. He's been ignoring my calls and texts, so I'm going to go over to our house tomorrow when I know he's home and have a discussion with him. I'll post an update. Thanks for all the advice. Update 1. This is an update to a post I made earlier. It got removed, but I posted the original text on my profile if you would like to go and read it. So it turns out a lot of you were right, and my husband was lying about not knowing my sister was gay. He wasn't answering any of my calls or texts, so I went over to the house when I knew he'd be there to talk. After we sat down, I said that the only way I would even begin to consider working this out was if he gave me the reason why he was suddenly acting like this, agreed to go to couples and individual therapy to work on his hurtful views, and apologize to me, the kids, and my sister. He started saying all the same stuff about my sister being a bad influence on the kids and not being in line with his moral compass. I got fed up and told him to cut the bullshit right now and tell me what was really going on, or I was going to walk out and he would never see me or his children again. I've never spoken to him like that before, and I think it rattled him because he spilled the whole story. Long story short, he's been having an affair for the past year. Now that I think about it, makes sense. I thought that maybe he was pulling away from me, but I figured it was just stress from work and kids. He admitted that when he had to go into the office on weekends, it was just an excuse to see her. Sometimes he would take a half day at work to go and be with her until it's time for him to pick up the kids. In his words, he was neutral about my sister being gay until his girlfriend opened his eyes. Apparently, when he mentioned my sister to her, she was shocked and started sending him lots of podcasts and YouTube videos on the subject. So for the past year, he's been falling down a right-wing rabbit hole, and I had no idea. He said that he knew I wouldn't accept his new beliefs, so he was forced to hide it from me. He also admitted that he's been wanting a divorce for a while, and not just because of the affair. After watching the videos and podcasts, he started to resent me because I'm not a traditional wife who stays at home to cook, clean, and take care of the kids so that he can relax after work. He said that seeing my sister kiss her girlfriend was the final straw because he realized the extent what his children were being exposed to. So he pretended to not know about it and made it this giant issue. In his mind, this was the perfect solution because he could finally make me see things his way and become a stay-at-home mom, or I would divorce him and he could come away looking like the good guy. Then he said he's going for full custody to protect his kids. I'm not super proud of it, but I flipped out at him. I called him a lot of names and told him that it'd be a cold day in hell before he even got 50-50 custody. I said if he wants to talk to me again, he'll have to contact my lawyer. Then I stormed out before I could smack him or something. In all honesty, this is a total nightmare, and I feel like I'm partially to blame. 13 years together, and I didn't notice he was changing overnight. I didn't think he was the type get sucked into this sort of thing, but I guess he's stupider than I thought. I also never expected him to be a cheater either, so maybe I didn't know him as well as I thought I did. On the other hand, the comments on my last post have made me do some thinking, and I realized I was not very happy in our marriage. A lot of people were asking what we even talk about, and the honest answer is we don't. We started dating when I was 19, and he was my second ever boyfriend. About a year in, I remember I was feeling unsure about our relationship, and then bam, I got pregnant with our son. It all happened so fast too. He proposed to me and I said yes. We had never discussed marriage before, and looking back, I'm pretty sure I would have said no if I wasn't pregnant. We had a long engagement, but we were basically married right after because I moved in with him immediately to raise our son. God, I feel so stupid. I think I was pretty naive at the start of our relationship. I never thought to have any in-depth conversations about politics, family, and religion. I'm realizing now that I was mostly staying in the marriage because it felt easier than the alternative and better for my kids. I genuinely thought he was a good man and father. Now I'm remembering tons of different moments in our relationship that I brushed off and fights we had that all add up to a bigger picture. I think part of why I've been so frazzled and exhausted lately is because he was literally doing the bare minimum and leaving me and my sister to pick up the slack. I don't regret the marriage because it led to my kids, but I regret not seeing everything sooner and getting out. Right now, my kids are my #1 priority. When I got back, I sat them down and we had a long conversation about their father, his views, and LGBT rights in general. I made it very clear that I would support them no matter what. I am also looking at getting all 3 of them in counseling to help them deal with this. We are temporarily staying with my sister while I sort out the divorce. We have separate bank accounts, but I need to figure out how to sell the house because I don't think I can afford it alone, and he definitely can't. There are some townhomes opening up in my sister's neighborhood that I'm going to try for so my kids can walk to her house. My sister has been so supportive during this entire ordeal. She and I had a long talk about everything with lots of hugging and crying. I feel awful for bringing a bigot around her, and I don't think I can ever repay her for all of the help and love she has given me and my children. She and her girlfriend have been helping out with the kids and the divorce stuff. Since her girlfriend is currently in town, I decided that I wanted me and kids to get to know her better, so this weekend we are all going to the museum and hopefully take my kids' minds off everything. What I'm most worried about is custody. I don't want my soon-to-be ex-husband and his girlfriend anywhere near my kids, but I'm not totally sure what to do. He's still their father, and I don't want to keep them from having a relationship. I'm going for full custody, but should I ban him from seeing them entirely? My son and older daughter are very upset with him. My son doesn't want to see him at all, and I'm not going to make him if he doesn't want to. I'm sorry that this is long and kind of rambly, but it feels nice to get my thoughts down. This whole situation has been overwhelming, so again, any advice going forward would be appreciated. I might update in the future after everything is settled to let you guys know how things are going. But in the meantime, I would like to thank you all for the helpful comments and messages. Relevant comments. Commenter. Wow, the audacity and hypocrisy. He has become a giant misogynistic POS with the typical stroke your ego narcissistic girlfriend that helped him see the light. That is quite laughable if it wasn't so tragic for you and your kids. I think you need to get an attorney ASAP and do what you can to, at a minimum, ban your husband's mistress from being around your kids, but absolutely go for full custody and force a sale of your home. I do think that you and the kids should move back into the house, and your husband should be the one to go if he can't hack it. I would argue that it is detrimental to be around such morally bankrupt individuals, adulterers, and bigots. Opie, I have an appointment with a lawyer on Monday. There is no way in hell I'm letting his mistress anywhere near my kids. I want to sell the house as soon as possible and get him out there. If he wants to be like this, he can go stay with her. I'm not sure about moving back into the house because I'm scared he'll show up when it's just me and the kids. I think my sister scares him a little, which is why he hasn't shown up to her house. Commenter. This is wild if true. Your husband is a spineless moron if he's letting some side chick change his moral/political views with right-wing propaganda. Men like him want a trad wife, but they don't make trad money. Face with tears of joy, did he even think far enough ahead to calculate how much he'd need to earn to single-handedly support a 5-person family? Or was his plan to pull himself up by his bootstraps? Face with hand over mouth, what's even crazier is that he's willing to give up his family. For a side piece? Last I checked, having an affair, getting a divorce, and starting over with your mistress is not in the traditional family values handbook. Opie, I still don't get his logic. If I quit my job, we would lose our house, so I don't understand what his plan was. I feel like an idiot for not seeing his true colors sooner.